Good afternoon, viewers. This is Susan, and welcome to my channel, Let's Talk with Susan. I'm bringing to you this afternoon a deliberation about the approval of Bitcoin ETF by the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission of the United States. Now, what does this mean, and how can this be of benefit to you and I? Over time, we've heard about cryptocurrency, and a lot of people haven't come to terms with cryptocurrency. People see it as some sort of scam. Some people see it as something that really doesn't exist. But today, I think it has gained, its relevance, and it has gained its weight already, in the economy at large, in the global economy, from the Asian to the US to the African continent. Everywhere right now, people are talking about cryptocurrency, the bull run, the bull run. What is the bull run? This is one question we need to ask ourselves. Why is it that a lot of youths, especially in Africa, in Nigeria to be precise, make a lot of money during the bull run? What information do they have to make the kind of money they make? This is about generating some good passive income for yourself, but you need proper education to know what to do or to take advantage of this fourth bull season with the approval of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, in quotes, as a mainstream asset. So we'll be talking about the mainstream asset. We'll be talking about the approval of BTC ETF, and we're talking about cryptocurrency at large. Is it something that could be a scam? Is it something that is legit? So we'll be finding out shortly from one of my colleagues and friends who is a crypto enthusiast like myself. He'll be talking or deliberating or emphasizing so much on the approval of Bitcoin ETF and the usefulness or how effective or how you can participate as an individual in this approval. So, Mr. Rotimi, you're welcome once again to my channel.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon.
You're most welcome. Actually, I've been speaking to the viewers, telling them about the Bitcoin ETF approval by the SEC. What is in it for you and I? The viewers out there will want to know how can they participate. They've seen a lot of jubilation already during the approval on the 10th of January on the ETF. There were a lot of jubilation in the United States, but most people want to understand how can it be of benefits to them, to parastatals, government parastatals, individuals. How can we benefit from this ETF approval? And in a layman's explanation, please, I want you to explain what the ETF Bitcoin approval is to start with.
All right. The ETF Bitcoin approval is the approval from the US Security Exchange Commission to ensure that investors can be able to invest from investment managers that are being approved to, take Bitcoin as an asset that can be invested in. So this approval is actually essential in the area that we can see that it provides certain number of investors into the crypto space. This is like, let's say, this is like opening the floodgates to investors all around the world to be able to invest in Bitcoin as an asset. So basically, ETF means the exchange traded fund. An exchange traded fund.
Please, can you repeat that again? The exchange traded
fund. Exchange traded fund. That is like the word, the acronym of ETF.
ETF.
So,
okay.
Yeah, an exchange traded fund works by offering investors exposure to the performance of a particular asset or groups of assets. We are going to use Bitcoin as a case study, to understand how the ETF works. So, how do this ETF work using Bitcoin as a case study? Number one, the creation of the ETF. An asset management firm creates the ETF specifying the underlying asset or index it aims to track. In the case of a Bitcoin ETF, the underlying asset is a Bitcoin. For this case, the
The
underlying
underlying
asset
asset is in Bitcoin.
is a
Okay.
Bitcoin. So we are using Bitcoin as a case study here. So when you create the ETF, you understand that there is an underlying asset that you want to build. You want to create uh, an asset management firm around it. Although you might have an
Okay.
asset management firm already, but you just want to, bring another underlying asset to the portfolio you already have, which Bitcoin is a case study. So after you have identified this, then you have to get approval from the SEC. And this
Sorry, you have to
approval,
get approval from where?
the SEC, you have to get
Okay.
approval from the SEC. The
Okay. The
SEC is
Security Exchange
uh,
Commission.
security. Yeah. The asset management firm submits the ETF proposal to the Security and Exchange Commission for approval. So once
Okay.
approved, the ETF can be listed and traded on a stock exchange. It
Okay.
means that the ETF can be listed and be traded on a stock exchange. So when the approval has been sorted out, the next step, I'm taking you through the stepwise manner of how an ETF works. So the next step
Okay.
is the custodian and the creation redemption process. The custodian and the creation redemption process. So the
The
ETF
custodian
typically
and the
involves,
creation and redemption process.
yes, the
All right.
ETF typically involves a custodian, a financial institution responsible for holding the actual Bitcoin that the ETF represents. The custodian
Oh,
plays a crucial role in the creation and redemption process.
okay.
So now we'll look at the areas of the authorized participants, the APs. You know, I would dive deep into what the APs are. The authorized participants, they are large institutional investors. These APs are large, they are usually large institutional investors. They work with the ETF issuer to create or redeem shares of the ETF. So these
All right.
APs, they are like, how will I put it? They are like the agents, the agency that works with the asset management firm that actually invest their money into these assets and makes it easy for investors. It makes it easy for investors to create and redeem shares of an ETF. So because
Okay.
they are the, let me just put it in this way. We have the producers, we have the wholesalers, we have the retailers, and we have the consumers. Just that is like chain of production. So now the APs, they act as the retailers.
Okay.
APs act as the reseller in this
Sorry,
chain
sorry, sorry,
because
sorry. You said the APs. The APs, who are the APs?
the authorized participant,
Okay, the authorized
we do,
participants act as the
yeah,
retailers.
yeah, they act as both the wholesalers and the retailers at the same time.
Okay.
Let me
Okay.
put it in that manner. So look at the wholesalers
Okay.
as people that invest in the bulk of the production line. and the retailers that as those that sell in bits. So this AP in the chain of command, let's say the producers are the ETF holders. That means the asset management firm that we are looking at,
Okay.
buying their shares. You know, these people have already gotten approval now. All they'll do is, you know, they are the one that are at the production center of these ETF shares. So they produce the shares that the APs, can play a role of both the wholesalers and the retailer. You know, the APs,
Okay.
they play both the role of the wholesalers and retailers, but
And the
basically
retailers.
we see,
All right.
uh, we will see them as we will see these APs as the wholesalers, basically, because
Okay.
they are typically large institutional investors that bring money and buy the bulk from the hands of the ETF asset managers. Then what they do is they buy the box and break it down that retailers can be able to buy and resell from them, or they sell directly to the investors. They
I
sell
get
the
it.
shares that they have acquired directly. So these authorized participants, they have load of money that they used to do business at the center, at the heart. So when people are saying we want to sell our shares, they buy it from them. When people say that I want to buy
Sorry,
shares, they
can
buy
I
it
can
from
I
them.
ask a question? Can I ask a question? In other words,
Yes,
are you
ma'am.
saying that the ETF approval represents the Bitcoin shares in the market?
The ETF approval represents the legitimacy of buying ETF as a share in the market.
Okay, the legitimacy of buying ETF as a share in the market.
In the market, yes.
So, in other words, it's just like stock right now, like a stock.
Now, officially, Bitcoin has become a stock.
Whoa.
It has become an
All
asset.
right.
It is being
All right.
identified as an asset. That is
Okay.
why it is proposed to receive an approval from the ECC so that it will be traded like an asset.
Like an asset. It's a mainstream asset right now. So
Right
with the
now,
fear people usually have, when you talk about Bitcoin, a lot of people see it as something that has to do with scam. So officially, is a mainstream asset that can be traded as a stock in the market.
yes, it can be traded as a stock in the market. So, looking at this process that I'm outlining for us as we follow, the authorized participants, you know, then they work with the ETF issuer to create and redeem shares
Okay.
of the ETF. When the creation of these shares is being done, the APs delivers the Bitcoin to the custodian in exchange for a new ETF shares. So
Oh,
shares, when redeeming shares, the AP to the issuer and receive the equivalent value in Bitcoin.
okay.
Like the AP is like an intermediary between, okay, it's an intermediary between the how do I put it again? What word do I use? The ETF issuer. BlackRock
It's
is an ETF.
the AP, meaning the authorized participants, are like an
Yes,
intermediary between the
yes,
ETF issuer and the retailers.
yes.
Okay. All right.
The AP delivers Bitcoin to the custodian in exchange for the new ETF shares that is going to be
Okay.
sold to the retailer.
That is going to be sold to the retailers.
Yes.
All right.
the people that buys these shares, they are investors. They get the
Yeah.
shares, they get the shares from the retailer. The retailer, the popular retailer we know, they are the NYSE and the Nasdaq. Uh, they are like where you can get these stocks. You know, they are stock exchange
Okay.
platforms. So
Okay.
investors can now buy and sell these shares throughout the trading day, just like stock. You know,
Okay.
the role of the AP is to mitigate with the issuer. Let me go about it again because it might be confusing for people that
Yes, it's a bit
don't.
confusing. I want it in such a way that every single person who isn't into cryptocurrency, who stumbles on this video, or those who are viewing us can understand the breakdown of the ETF and how an ordinary man on the streets in the US or even any other part of the world can participate in the ETF.
Normally, as I
Okay.
was saying, normally
Okay.
the ETF
Okay.
issuer, the
Okay.
ETF issuer works with an authorized participant, you know, to create
Okay.
and redeem
Can you
shares.
give me an example of an ETF issuer? Can I become an ETF issuer?
Yeah, ETF issuers are those ones that applied for the approval that they want to
Okay,
trade.
okay. Those that apply
The,
for the approval. So we are looking at
yes,
institutions, as
those
ETF
ones are
issuers.
called, yes, they are called the
All right.
ETF issuers.
All
You
right.
understand? They
All
are the
right.
one that asks
Yeah.
for the approval so that they will be able to
Okay.
issue ETF. And their
Okay.
role is
Okay.
the role that these ETF issuers and this AP have together. I say the ETF issuers, they are like the um they are like the producer, and this ETF and this AP are like the wholesalers. You know, what they do
Okay.
is that when they are creating shares, when the ETF issuer is creating shares, the AP delivers Bitcoin to the custodian. That
Okay.
is the ETF, the ETF issuer is also the custodian, you know, in
Okay.
exchange for the ETF shares. So look at this in this way. The
All
ETF,
right.
the AP and the ETF issuers. The ETF issuers, they are like the producers. The active participants, they are like the wholesalers. You know.
Okay.
Now, the active participants, their role is to invest in Bitcoin
Okay.
and exchange that Bitcoin to shares of ETF.
Okay.
The AP delivers Bitcoin to the custodian in exchange for the new ETF shares when redeeming the shares. When creating the shares, sorry, when creating the shares,
Okay.
the AP will get Bitcoin, give it to the custodian, which is the ETF issuer, and the ETF issuer will give them ETF shares on that Bitcoin that was exchanged. That is when they are creating shares. But when they are redeeming shares, the AP returns the ETF shares to.
All right.
All right. We are actually discussing about the role of APs and the ETF issuers, which also like they are the custodian of the assets. So when the authorized participant is interacting with the ETF issuers, there are two interactions there. They are creating shares and redeeming shares. So creating shares is the part of them to create a share value, and redeeming shares is the part where they redeem a share value. So this AP, when creating, sorry, can you give me some minutes? I want to pick a call. Can you give me some minutes?
We are good.
All right. The authorized participant role in the ETF issue is to, get Bitcoin, exchange the Bitcoin for shares, then uh, the the shares will be sold out to people. So when the shares is needed to be recovered, you know, what is happening is that they are going to sell the shares back to the ETF issuer. Then the ETF issuers will now give the value of the Bitcoin back to the APs, and the APs will settle on the exchange. So that is the job of the APs in the creation of the ETF shares and the redemption of the ETF shares. So now we will look at the market trading, also another area. Once the ETF shares is being created, the ETF shares are listed on the stock exchange, for retail purposes, just like the NYSE, that is the New York Stock Exchange, or the NASDAQ. Investors can buy and sell these shares throughout the trading day, just like their stocks. So another areas we
All
look
right.
in the ETF area is the arbitrage mechanism. The creation and the redemption process is facilitated by APs. So it helps the ETF market price in line with the net asset value, that is the NAV, of its underlying assets. So let's say in this area now, we are saying that the arbitrage mechanism is the one that lets um, the ETF to be profitable, because they are
Okay. The
monitoring.
arbitrage, sorry, the arbitrage mechanism makes the
Yes,
ETF to be profitable.
yes, in the
Okay.
sense that they are monitoring the value of the asset price outside, and they are looking for a place where they will be able to get the asset cheaper to get more inflow when they can have more buying power. You understand? And
All
also
right.
try and discharge those assets. So in the trading of those assets, that's where it is they generate profit, and there is always a possibility that they will be incurring loss. But with time,
Okay.
because it is a stock market and people are involved in the buying and selling, it's going to generate, at least it's going to be profitable in the long run. So
Okay.
if the ETF is trading at a premium, if the ETF is trading at a premium or discount to the net asset value, authorized participants can engage in arbitrage to profit from the differentials,
Okay.
differentials, helping to keep the price in check. So this is like I'm further explaining what I said earlier. It's an open area for them to make profit, since there is always a margin in price across border. So
Okay.
we also look that in ETF processes, there's also fees and expenses. So the ETF issuer charges a fee for managing the fund, and these fees are typically expressed as a percentage of the assets under management, the asset under management. So the asset under management, they might decide to charge about 0.2% as their managing fee. So
All right.
imagine that we are having hundreds of billions of dollars in investment, ETF investment. If
Okay.
they are charging about 0.2%, it means they are charging in, in billions, also in millions of dollars. For you controlling an asset worth of billions, hundreds of billions, and you are charging 0.2, it means that you are charging in hundreds of millions for a fee on this ETF. So it's highly profitable for the ETF issuer, as as they charge fees and expenses on this,
On management.
and those fees covers for the operational cost of the ETF. So the seventh thing that we can
Okay.
see, in the ETF, using Bitcoin as case studies, that some ETF, particularly equity-based ones, may distribute dividends to shareholders based on the income generated by the underlying assets. However, Bitcoin itself doesn't generate income like stocks. So the Bitcoin ETF may not pay dividends in the traditional sense.
Okay.
Bitcoin is, I don't know how to put it. Like, if you buy Apple shares now, you know that Apple generate these shares to build their corporation, and as
Yes,
their
due to their
corporation is being
production.
built,
Yes.
yeah, they have production line and they are making profit. So out of the profit that they are generating, it's traditional that you distribute dividends to shareholders. That
Okay.
is actually, you know, that's like a tradition that you distribute dividends to shareholders.
So shareholders. Yeah.
So, yeah, in this case, Bitcoin is not like a production company or a manufacturing company. You know, Bitcoin is more or less a currency that, let's say, for example, gold. Gold is a currency. Gold do not pay dividends on the holders, on their ETF holders, you know, because gold only, if you invest in gold as shares, you only get profitable with time based on the
Yeah.
value of the gold that you
Due
bought
to
when
the
it
the,
was
the,
low.
the the increase in
Yeah,
value of the gold.
due to the increase in value of it. So you're
All
actually
right.
trading the stocks for a particular margin that you sell it to take profit. So when it will drop, some people will buy into the stock and trade it when it will be expensive to take profit. So that is the kind of precedence that we have for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not a stock that pays dividends to the shareholders like
Okay.
the equity-based uh, counterpart of stocks. So the last thing that we will see in this is the tax consideration. The tax consideration. Investors in ETF may be subjected to capital gains. Taxes when they sell their shares for profit. Tax implication can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the investors' individual circumstances. So,
Okay.
considering this, some people might not want to directly invest in the shares because I don't want to pay capital gain tax on my
I
profit.
see.
You know, so we see that in the case of ETF, there's always capital gain tax And that is the reason why the approval is being considered. Because if it's going to bring a, a ton load of money into the economy, then it means that the American government wants a piece of that. So it's part of the consideration that will enable them to to approve the Bitcoin ETF.
Okay,
In
because
the case of the
definitely it's going
recent,
to have a positive effect to their economy as
yeah,
well. All right.
to their economy. So
Okay.
the recently approved spot Bitcoin ETF mentioned in the news, various asset management firms like BlackRock, Grayscale, and Vanguard and other has received the SEC approval for their Bitcoin focused ETF. So this ETF aims to provide investors with exposure to the price movement of Bitcoin without having to directly own and store the cryptocurrency themselves. So the ETF structure allows for easier buying and selling on traditional stock exchange, providing a more accessible investment vehicle for a broader range of investors that kind of have fears that what if I lose my wallet? It's not something I can transfer to my children when I have lost access to my wallet. It's not something that I can recover when I've lost access to my wallet. It is not something I can lay my hands on when it is compromised based on security. All those questions that are coming from people that are looking at investing in Bitcoin on a long term are definitely answered with this spot ETF. So for the case of those that you like it in the share style that you want to pass down to your generation unborn, this is an easy route for you to
Okay.
acquire
The
it.
ETF is an easy route to still have your Bitcoins and pass down to your generation without having any
Yeah.
form of fear that you could lose your DApps wallet, or you could lose your recovery phrase, or you could lose anything that has to do with that investment. This is very good. But secondly, I have a question for you, Mr. Rotimi. There was this,
Yes.
sort of jubilation, and the world, those who are in the crypto space all over the world were just, at the moment of the approval, very excited and super excited. Now there are projections that the BTC, as at when it was approved, it was trading for about $46,000 or $47,000. And there was this projection that BTC was likely going to go back to its previous high, which is about $69,000 that it actually attained sometime in 2021. But when you look at the chart of Bitcoin technically, and with what we are seeing now, understanding the pattern, at times these big players, do. I see Bitcoin coming down to about $12,000 this same year after her halving in April. But there are projections that Bitcoin would never get to $12,000. Technically, on the chart, is likely to hit back $12,000. So, what is your take on this?
My honest take on this is that the future of Bitcoin is bright when we have, you know, the future of Bitcoin is bright when we have these parties involved gaining approval to join the party. And the party is not a party that um, you are restricted to do things that we are normally doing, before the party started. That is before the approval. You know, for those that are actively investing in Bitcoin outside the ETF, the party has started because it has moved from gaining It has moved from gaining money from believers to gaining money from non-believers. You
Okay.
know, the money that we flood into Bitcoin now is going to be from the people that do not believe in Bitcoin before. But because of the legitimacy that is, wrapped around Bitcoin at the moment, because of the approval from the SEC, is going to give it a level of acceptance that people that do not actually believe in Bitcoin before now, we see it as an investment opportunity now, because those that are protecting us about fraud or scam are now actively saying that you can now, invest in these opportunities. You can now take part in these activities. Those same people are now saying now it is okay for us to go. So now that we are
Delve
getting
into
that okay
BTC.
for us to go, it is, yes, it is going to be a Wall Street kind of feeling from this period to the end of time. As far as Bitcoin is listed, it's going to give you the Wall Street feeling for that period of time. So we see people coming in, going out, there's everyday push, everyday buying and selling will be happening. It will be more volatile than ever. That is my
So
own projection
when
about
are
it.
we
It will be more
anticipating?
volatile
When
than
are we
ever.
anticipating this volatility in Bitcoin? Is the volatility in Bitcoin coming in after the halving, which is taking place this April? Are we looking at a volatile
The,
Bitcoin, or
the
are we looking at the
volatility,
same trend of what has happened after the halving?
yeah, the volatility that is happening is that before those investors put in their money, they will take good positions. They will take
Absolutely.
marvelous positions. And the positions that they are willing to take can go down to $12,000.
That is it. Because
As you
technically,
said,
Bitcoin is to come down to twelve
it
thousand
can
dollars.
it can go down to as much as $12,000. It
I
can.
can imagine. I
And
can imagine.
also it cannot. And also it cannot.
Okay. Okay.
It depends on the active players. It depends
The
on
active players in
the
the market.
investors that are around. Yes. It depends on the active players. It depends on the investors that are around. And it depends on the current holders. If the
Okay. If
current
they're willing
holders
to sell
decide
off
not to sell, if they decide not to sell, it's going to be very difficult for
for it to drop.
um, the prices to come down.
Okay.
It's going to be very difficult. But we know that these players are also part of this charade. They're also part of the game.
Absolutely.
Before now, before now, most of them have invested in Bitcoin heavily to expect the approval. And then they can decide to sell because they want to form a narrative. They can decide to sell their supply.
Okay.
Everything is demand and supply to form a
Absolutely.
narrative.
Yeah. When it comes to crypto. So looking at what
So
we
when they
had.
sell their supply, we can see
Okay.
that surge down.
Okay.
We can see that surge down that will fall back down. And it's still same people that will buy it back up. But it's different
That
point
will
of
buy
view.
it back.
Yes. So
Oh.
we can determine that the price will drop if it is still the same financial game that everybody is going to play, or people that already have Bitcoin will decide to hold and not to sell. Because the recent
And
people
if,
that
if
sold,
if they decide to hold and not sell, it will be difficult for the price to go bearish.
yes, But the people that sold recently, there are people that bought recently,
Okay.
people that bought about a month ago when it was around 30 something, people
So they
that push
actually
up the
sold
hype
in
to
profits.
that price, they actually sold in profit. But the profit that they are selling in is actually minimal because they have a target. Possibly they are
Yeah.
going to send the money back to the ETF to invest for them.
Okay.
Or they are going to look for a lower position to take. But I'm sure about something. I'm sure that for traders, for people that are actively going to trade Bitcoin, they are going to be in massive profit this year.
Okay.
Whether there is bull run, whether there is no bull run, the introduction of the ETF is going to cause massive movement up and down, even
In the
to a
BTC.
level that we have never had before. Yeah, it's going to be much more volatile than the forex market that we have never seen. Because you see these APs, they are always looking for arbitrage opportunities. So for when the price get low within a day, it can spring up because those are buyback. And when it gets low, it can spring up within a second. So for those that will actively trade Bitcoin, just I want to do buying and selling for 12 hours in a day, they are going to make massive load of money. But people that are
Okay.
looking for um, holding long term, they are looking at holding Bitcoin long term, you actually ride with the bull run. You will see where the bull run takes you to. You see the price where the bull run takes you to. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the bull run will go like the other bull runs that we have seen in the past. It will there will be a bull run actually, but it will be more of a slow paced bull run because we are having money going in and going out
And
in
coming
that slow
out.
pace.
Okay. So what do
Yes,
you make
it will
out
be
of?
more of a slow paced bull run.
Oh, all right. So, what do you make out of other major projects? Like now, we know that Bitcoin is now on the mainstream. We know Ethereum ETF is coming up in May, and definitely is going to get some approval, just like what has happened to BTC ETF proposal. Now, in the crypto world at large, we know we have a lot of public chains in the crypto space. What do you see?
Yes,
Because with this approval, I
definitely.
think the whole game is changing. A lot of crypto coins would definitely go obsolete due to having lack of use cases why people should hold them. It's not going to be the game as usual in the
Yes.
crypto space. So what are we looking at?
We are currently looking at um, a broader investor access. The ETF are traded on traditional stock exchanges, making them accessible to a wider range of investors who may not be comfortable dealing directly with cryptocurrency exchanges. So this
Okay.
will increase the accessibility and could lead to a broader investors base that will be looking at, you know, extending their portfolio to expansion of markets. Let's put it that way. They'll be looking at the uh, expansion of the overall crypto market so that investors can be able to gain exposure through ETF, to be able to gain interest in other digital assets beyond Bitcoin. So we know that
Okay.
Ethereum is another digital asset. We know that Ripple is another digital asset. Cardano, Matic, um, Stellar, all those coins, they are they're actually another opportunity for people to take a look at them to invest. But before people will invest in those coins, just as you said, they will look at the use case of those coins. You know, meme, some meme coin can make it to ETF, but I don't believe they'll be able to last in the ETF. So
Okay.
these ETFs that I'm saying that might not be able to make it, like the meme ETFs, they might make it there because of the hype, because of the price, but they might not be able to sustain value because there is no
Okay.
utility that is being created around the adoption of those
Around
assets.
those coins.
So it might not be able to be, yeah, it might not be able to be ETF worthy. But projects like, I'm trying to think of like Polkadot. Polkadot is a
Okay.
blockchain.
Polkadot is a third generation
Uh,
blockchain technology. I think it's a Web3 generation blockchain
yeah,
technology.
it's a third,
Okay.
yes, and it has its own utility. And
Okay.
I believe Polkadot utility is to bring two blockchains together, like to bridge two blockchains together. So
Okay. That's a
a
layer
project
one
like
project.
Polkadot can actually,
Okay.
yeah, can actually make it in the ETF, because it has
Okay.
a physical utility that we can see, you know.
Okay.
So because of this, project, I'm sorry.
No
Because of
problem.
this, I think projects will be able to, they'll be able to work hand in hand to say, okay, I don't want to be, how will I put it? I don't want to be part of a Bitcoin project that is not working towards listing on NASDAQ or working towards, you know, um, becoming uh, a worldwide uh, currency to reckon with. You understand?
Yeah.
So every project that will be launching now due to this ETF, we're looking at the end goal that we are going to be listed in the ETF in the future.
Okay. So, do we have some prospective blockchain technology that have some fantastic use cases like a third generation blockchain? You just mentioned Polkadot that people could look into because, in as much as the ETF of Bitcoin has been approved globally and there have been celebrations here and there, making it public for millions of people and institutions to come in with their funds into the Bitcoin, but safeguarding them in the ETF part of it, and not in the major, exchange market like you and I participate in the exchange markets, of cryptocurrency. Do we have some other good technology that we are very hopeful that could spring up, even more than Polkadot, having some fantastic use cases that can still participate in this ETF in the nearest future?
Mm, Basically, there's a project ahead of, that I'm active in the community. The white paper looks clean. Is SCF. They call the project Standard Cross Finance. And
Okay,
from the
standard cross
inception of
finance.
that project, they have been saying that
Okay,
they want to, yes, they have been saying that they want to achieve uh, one goal. And that goal is they want to make it to NASDAQ by 2025. So even before
that's a
this
huge one.
ETF thing come up and we have it being approved here and there, I would say that the only project I've seen before before now, that I've said they are looking at a commitment to be listed on NASDAQ, to be trading on NASDAQ, has been the STF project. That is the only project, that I have heard of. I've read the white paper, I've looked at it, and I've actively participated in the community. And seeing that dream, being achieved now, even before they can get to the achievement of the NASDAQ, saying that it is being approved now tells us that project that has dreams like that already know it's going to happen. And it tells us a lot about the developers and the projects, the people that put the project together. That if they
Wow.
actually think of what has happened this month, about 2 years back, that this is what they want to achieve, it means that they have been on the right path of development. And I believe they are going to achieve
Absolutely.
it in the long run.
Okay, now looking at third generation projects like Polkadot and a futuristic one that the white paper is very clean, which is the standard cross finance chain. So we are looking forward to seeing them, in NASDAQ, due to their intentions about 2 years ago, having this intention that they want to be listed in NASDAQ. So they have already foreseen over time that there will be a time that Bitcoin is going to become an ETF. So definitely, since that is achievable, they can as well achieve theirs, as well as going to NASDAQ too.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
That,
So
that,
while,
that
while I
is a
was
good
going
one.
through the white paper, I saw they want to achieve listing. And before you can achieve
Okay.
listing, you have to have the information that there will have to be an ETF approval in years to come before you can even have that dream. So it means
Okay.
that there is an inside information that the project is building on. And the project has built in a marvelous way that within months, they have gotten to an epic 61 million community members based on the wallet address count. And let's just say they have, 1/5 of that. That will give us uh, about 12 million people, which is also a large number.
Which is,
Uh,
yeah, is a very
it
good
is
number.
interesting that, yeah, it is interesting that a project like that has come out to preach that this is what they want to achieve. And we are already seeing that their achievement is more realistic by the day
More
through
realistic
this
by the day.
approval of
Okay.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was even hearing they have some fantastic ecosystem, about 8 major ecosystem, which would really make them stand out, among other crypto
Yeah.
coins in the market.
Yeah. If you look at their ecosystems, one of their ecosystem is a derivative exchange. When you look at the derivative exchange, you get to have a feeling that they are trying to create their own window of the stock market online, where you can buy and sell stocks
Where you
outside.
can buy and
You
sell
know,
stocks. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So you look at, they already have FinSwap that
Okay. FinSwap,
you
that is
can
a
look at.
decentralized exchange of the blockchain.
Yeah, you can look at FinSwap like you are looking at PancakeSwap or
All
Uniswap.
right.
It's an
All right.
exchange for the crypto space. They have
Okay.
Finbox, which is their social media platform. They
Okay.
have Finbill. This
Okay.
Finbill, serve as um, the area where you can operationalize as if you are running a bank.
Okay. That's trades of
You
bills,
know,
checks, and the likes.
yes, you can
Okay.
get loan, based on your point and all. I've
Okay.
already mentioned the Fin exchange, the derivative
Yeah.
exchange.
Yeah.
They also have uh, the Fin SBTs. That one is the soul-bound token that keeps the record of your transaction, that makes you to have credit score, to see if they can borrow you money or not, to see the overview of your activities on their platform. They have the
Okay.
FUSD too, which is the stable currency of the ecosystem. And what else? I
Okay.
think I think that is they have their Fin
Yeah, they have the
Soul,
FinPay.
like
They have
their
the FinPay,
payment
which is already
platform,
generating them over 11
and they
million
have the
dollars daily.
yeah
Okay.
daily. They have the FinPay that takes more or less like a payment platform that you can easily make payments, exchange payments, send payments, send draft, all those. The utilization of a payment platform is what they have. They have a bright, vibrant ecosystem, which, if you count, they are 80 numbers, and you know that will create and generate value for the coin in the future. So the coin is
Wow.
actually a sister coin of two blockchains that operate parallel, side by side by each other. And you know the fin chain and the main chain. The fin chain has more nodes, the main chain has less node. Like
Okay.
the 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 main chain, sorry, the main chain has 100 nodes. It is called 100 supernodes. And the fin chain has 100 times 100. That is about 10,000
Okay.
fin
That's about a
nodes,
10,000, right?
which is
Okay.
yes, which is currently updated to, it is now upgraded to 12,200
Notes.
nodes. So we can look at the speed of the fin chain. Yeah, we can look at the speed of the fin chain now. Now currently have about 12,200 nodes, and those nodes
Wow.
are going to create quite a lot of transaction processes, going to settle transaction, and people are mining from those nodes. We have
Wow.
so many investors that are actively mining on it.
On the
So
notes.
it will take about 4 years, 4 months to get to the next halving from the time
Okay.
that
4 years, 4 months to
um,
get to the next halving.
the
So from your experience on blockchain
yeah
technology, I think, do we have any blockchain that has come up with such a cross-chain mechanism like the SCF?
yeah yes,
Okay, which of them?
Binance Smart Chain and Binance Bitcoin
Okay.
Chain. They are
Okay.
blockchains that work, hand in hand.
Parallel.
The
Okay.
the Bitcoin chain is the one that we use on our Binance app, while the Smart Chain is the one we use for the general business
On the pancake
activities.
swap on the
So you see
DEX.
something like yeah, you see something like BP2 and BP20.
Yeah.
So BP2 is like the main chain, and BP20 is like uh, the fin chain.
Okay.
You know,
So are you saying
there's a
BEP2 is a
precedence.
decentralized chain
BP2 is created for the centralized activities of Binance.
of Binance?
When
Okay.
you are
Well,
operating your
the
Binance app,
BEP20.
the the blockchain, yeah, the blockchain that operates on the Binance app is different from the BP20 blockchain.
Okay.
When you send your token from BP20 to Binance address BP20, it receives it and it automatically converts it to BP2.
So BEP2.
That is where they are doing the cross functionality. Yes. That is where the cross functionality that bridge the BP2 with other blockchains that controls the assets that Bitcoin controls on the app. So you see that you want to send TRC token from the Binance app. You'll be wondering, how did you send TRC tokens? It's because of the implementation on the Binance Bitcoin app that,
Beacon
you
chain.
know,
Okay.
the system that is built, the centralized system that is built, that is protected, is the one that is enabled to receive BEP20 on your behalf, convert it to TRT20, and go to the wallet of TRT20 with them and transfer, TRT20 to another wallet. So all those
Wow.
operations,
Okay.
you will notice that when you are running your Binance application, they charge you from what you are spending. They don't charge you gas fees. If you go to the back end of your wallet, you will see that the application is sending BNB to your wallet to operate, to your Binance wallet, to help you operate. But those charges, they are now based on, I want to send $5 worth of asset outside, then you'll be charged some cents on it to be able to send. So if you check back end, you see that you have received, and the way you sent it using gas fees, but the gas fees is not incurred by you, but is incurred by Binance.
Absolutely. Okay. So right now, is it that the SCF, the standard cross finance chain, is a more advanced chain to what the Binance had created, which is the Beacon and the BEP20? What's the difference between these two chains?
Uh, there is actually no difference in terms of the operability. There's actually no difference in terms of the
Okay.
operability, because the STF, the STF blockchain, you know, created their blockchain based on the knowledge that have already been existed by other chains. So Binance might be
Okay.
a precedence, but the difference that is between Binance and SCF is the values that they offer
Okay. The
and
values that they
the
hold.
capacity, yeah, and the capacity of the way they can process transactions, the opportunities that they give investors, but the technology is not different. It's not different. It's not something
Okay.
new, but it can be something special due to the fact that what they offer might be different from what Binance is offering. Because we know that venture capitalist investment, usually they are conservatives in terms of offering profits, unlike um, businesses that started with either a community or personal investment. They will make their own decision. Venture capitalists will not, be involved in the decisions that business like that, business that are self-made or community-made. Venture capitalists have no say in the direction of where the company is supposed to go.
Okay. Wow, it's such an insightful moment I've had with you. The Bitcoin ETF as a
Yes,
whole.
ma'am.
I hope the viewers would understand what the ETF approval, because the jubilation, I got questions, through chats, calls, Susan, this ETF, what is it all about? How can I participate? So the ETF is just a safe means for investors to put their money, and is transferable
Yes.
to generations. While the players, like we play
Just
in
like
the open
stock.
market, yeah, just like stock. But we play in the open market because we are very careful with our recovery phrases. We can do our transactions on Bitcoin, and excluding Bitcoin, we have other major projects, like you've just heard, that has the potential to be on the ETF. So you can imagine people who have mined the Bitcoin over time and right now see that Bitcoin has gotten approval into the ETF. What is in it for them? and what projects can we look out for that has very good potentials. Like, my colleague had just mentioned a few, and a very prospective blockchain technology, which is the standard cost finance, that has very fantastic use case, and has always maintained through her white paper, which is very clear to all, that they have every tendency to be on the NASDAQ. In fact, the goal they want to achieve is to be on the NASDAQ. So if you're not in Bitcoin and you're not in any of these coins that have been mentioned, you can as well just calculatively take your risks to make sure you hold some quantity of prospective blockchain technology like the SCF as well, that has every tendency to be listed on NASDAQ. So, Mr. Rotimi, thank you very much for the time. Do you have one more word, to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I would love to say this word to the viewers, that it's actually not a complicated thing when you learn about what is going on in the space. So before you get into um, cryptocurrency, before you get into ETF investments, you need at least a beginner to intermediate level of education in this field, in these areas, that you can use to make informed decisions. I've seen so many people crash and burn
Of
in
course.
Bitcoin, in Ethereum investment and all, and it's because they are not willing to
To
invest in
learn.
the education. Yeah, they are not ready to learn and to invest in the education of these currencies. So it's important that you educate yourself before you venture into them, because it's only profitable for those that understand.
That
And it will
understands.
look like it is easy. Yeah, it will look like it is easy for those that understand the way they go around it. That people that don't understand will think it is an opportunity for them to get rich without actually investing in the education. So please, the word I have is, let us invest in the education of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as a whole. When we have that education, we will be able to make informed decisions based on those knowledge that we have gathered on the education, and we'll be able to give people the opportunity to also learn, and we have a community of informed, empowered crypto investors throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. So, viewers, you've heard it all. If you have questions, if you need some clarity, you can as well just contact me, with the number you see on the screen. So we could put you through, we could take you through blockchain technology, whatever questions, gray areas, we are here for you. Cryptocurrency, like you have seen and heard already, which you can Google about, is now a mainstream asset, especially the BTC. And since BTC has gained its place in the mainstream market, definitely Ethereum is going to follow suit, and third generational Web3 blockchain technology would as well get their way or gain access as well to ETF approval. So thank you very much for staying tuned, and just don't fail to subscribe to this channel. We bring you detailed information. When I say detailed information, very comprehensive information of what you need to understand. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you, Mr. Rotimi.
Thank you very much, Ma, for having me here. Thank you, Ma.
You're most welcome. Bye. All right, viewers. So thank you for the time. I hope you found this very pleasant. The ETF approval just simply means an asset, a stock asset that can help you safeguard your investments if you're not in the open market like we do. So the ETF is a safer place for people to play, especially in the United States, where they have opened the gates for millions of people to come into the cryptocurrency world, for major investors, the institutions, to come into the cryptocurrency world. And we are looking at the bull run. This year is actually the year of the bull, but the bull might just not set in like every other bull season we have experienced. I'll be sharing my screen shortly with us to talk about what has happened over time during the first bull run, the second bull run of BTC, the third bull run of BTC, where we are today and what we are looking at. There are projections that Bitcoin would definitely skyrocket to about $200,000, but not for the now. It's going to take a gradual process. But this year, after the Bitcoin halving, technically, looking at the chart technically, which I'm going to show us shortly, Bitcoin is definitely going to come down to $12,000. If it doesn't come down to $12,000, that means there are strongholds, holding Bitcoin that has refused to let go. Now we have some other ETF approval coming up in May. The Ethereum, we are going to take you through as well. Now, what is in it for you and I? Should I buy Ethereum to hold? Should I buy Bitcoin to hold because of this approval? The market is going to be very volatile. Like you heard from Mr. Rotimi, you need knowledge. You need knowledge. We have other major projects, tech generation projects, that you could just hold some few tokens of these coins as well, making an informed decision. You could hold some few coins of these blockchain technologies because they are going to do very well as well in the nearest future. So thank you for the now. Very soon I'll be coming your way again. I'll be hosting some other person, Mr. Chidi Okereke, to tell us what he thinks about the ETF approval and how it can be of relevance to you and I. What kind of crypto should we look out for? Is it the third generation blockchain technology? Is it a general cryptocurrency in the market? What knowledge do you need to have to make the right and informed decision on cryptocurrency? So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe to my page to always get the first information every single time we post. We are bringing something very vital and very useful to you, which cuts across everything from entertainment news to political news to social news to money-making news and even to gossip. We're going to bring it to you just right at your doorstep. So stay tuned and just have fun the rest of the day. Bye.